Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Goldberg Show. I got my two co-hosts with me, Devin and Denny. And on this episode, we have another special guest with us, Josh J. Josh, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. Go ahead and give our viewers just a brief description of yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah, so born and raised in Wisconsin. Never moved. Went to the same high school my whole life. Out of high school, I went to college at UW La Crosse. Studied computer science and political science, which was a reflection of a startup idea I had named Coffee House, which is kind of my mic, which is kind of at the intersection of politics and technology. We really want to empower voters to make informed decisions at the ballot box with using technology with as much to give them as much information as possible so they can make educated decisions. And yeah, so I went to La Crosse, and then I actually took a gap year and managed a U.S. congressional campaign in Utah for January Walker, who was running under the United Utah Party ticket. That she ended up getting 7% of the vote, which we thought was a win for a third party. And then I think you mentioned we were going to be discussing third parties, so I definitely have some knowledge in that front. And then I went back to school at UW Stevens Point, where I'm studying computer information systems. And now I have gotten an internship out of that, working for a government contractor. We do a little bit in commercial, but mainly government contracting. I'm a web developer there. And yeah, here I am.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
It's an impressive
Congratulations on the new
resume.
gig, by the way. But
Thank you.
yeah, let's start things off. I want to start talking about what you just mentioned, Josh, third party, and I guess I could really start to kick on this one. So something I think that our country lacks greatly in, I think was just talking to some of you guys the other night in Spaces, is I think America lacks the middleman nowadays. It's either people are too far on this side or they're too far on this side. I mean, I just don't understand why there can't be topics where both sides can just come together and say, okay, let's agree on this. And if we agree, we could actually make a change. But yet, that's disappeared in today's politics, which is a sad thing. And I think, Josh, I was talking to you about this, and you asked me in a Twitter space who I think would be a good candidate for third party. Honestly, I don't know. Again, I think too many people play too far on each side of the aisle nowadays. Um, yeah, I'd like to know some of your guys' takes on third party. Devin, I'll start with you.
We've talked about him in a bunch of episodes, and I think I actually asked in the last episode with Denny. To me, Elon Musk would be a great third party because the way that he started running this Twitter, where he's heavy conservative, situations, the George Soros thing, but he's not completely down that aisle. He hasn't went all the way down that rabbit hole. So to me, if I were to say, if there was a third party person, I would definitely vote for. It would be Elon Musk.
So what kind of ideologies or do you think like the Musk party would have?
So mostly, we talk about this a lot, and I think that we can all mutually agree that the biggest problem in America's side right now is the censorship of freedom of speech. And you see with Elon Musk that
Yeah.
he is doing a great job at. He may not agree with the things that people are saying on Twitter, but he's for sure letting them say it. He's not censoring it, and I'm sure to some degree there is some kind of censorship, when it comes to like some kind of hate speech or something, but nothing that nowhere near what Jack Dorsey was doing when he had control of Twitter.
Yeah, and I think Elon buying Twitter really shows that he is a patriot. And if he wanted to spend $44 billion, I'm sure he could find hundreds of other better investments than Twitter. I mean, it's not like Twitter is a money house. Twitter was actually a failing company when you looked at the financials before he bought it. And I think he's going to turn it around, but he definitely didn't buy it for financial gain. He bought it because he wanted to make a difference in the world and turn Twitter as a platform around. because it is an important platform for political discourse and for discourse in general. And, it's important that countries around the world, and especially in America, as we see all this polarization, that we have a place where we can go to where free speech isn't, or where speech isn't censored. There's an RFK quote I like where, the remedy to bad speech is simply more speech. It's not having these biased people censoring information.
Yeah, that's a good point, Josh. And another thing is, like, prior to Elon buying Twitter, it wasn't really a company. It was like a government proxy to like destroy the First Amendment. So I agree with Devin, which I'm not sure if he's here anymore. Actually, we can't see his face, but he's here in spirit. Now you brought up who I think is going to be the third party man, and that is RFK Jr. Because there's not going to be a Democratic primary like vote. They're just going to make Joe Biden the man. They did it in 2016 with Hillary, not allowing Bernie to run. But RFK is kind of like right in the center. Like, he's anti the COVID shot. We're not saying it's good or bad, right, Alec? Because we're not doctors. But he's
I had
anti
to be
that.
I had to be careful because of YouTube, so thumbs up.
Yeah, so he's anti that. So he's like pro-choice, and he's also kind of like for gun control. So he could appease like both people on certain issues on like a single issue voter. So I think he will run as a third party for sure.
That's RFK Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, once he
Man,
loses the Democratic Party
I
or the Democratic primary, right? He would run in the general as an independent. I'd imagine. Yeah.
man,
So
that
I do have a
go
pro and
on.
con about RFK Jr. And the pro is he's a Kennedy. The second, or the con, is the FBI and CIA knows he's a Kennedy. So there's a potential there that we all know how history
Hey, it's worked out
might
great
repeat
for every other
itself.
Kennedy. Every other Kennedy has been super successful with with their endeavors at running for presidency, including his father and his uncle.
R- right. What were you gonna say, Alec?
Oh, I was just gonna jump over to Josh. Josh, I'd like to know more because you said you helped with a candidate for the third party. I'd like to know more, like what is it the values I guess that the third party would would tell voters that aren't familiar with the third party.
Yeah, so I think primarily what a third party is in the like contemporary American politics, is someone who is going against the grain of this polarization of this us versus them, and there's someone who is really fighting for the people and kind of going back to the roots of who we are as a country. Where the representatives, the priorities should be serving their constituents, not donors, not lobbyists, and not corporations, and not the party leaders. The people should come over the party. And I always go back to a George Washington quote, but he said that political parties would usurp the reins of government and destroy afterwards the very engine that brought them to power. And I think that's what we see here is the political parties have just become immensely corrupt and have essentially usurped control of this country from the people. And I think first and foremost, if you're going to want to have success at third party, you have to point out that flaw and really speak to the patriots in this nation that want to get back to what this country was founded on.
I love
Yeah,
what
that
I was
was
hearing.
really well said.
Yeah, for sure. I love what you were saying earlier too, Josh, about having like it was like a cafe, right? Where you'll like educate people on the different issues. Like, the whole goal is to educate voters. Is that what your startup is kind of about?
Yeah, so I can go into deeper detail. So it's called Coffee House. So the reason behind the name Coffee House is, during the American Revolution, historians called coffee houses the headquarters of the American Revolution. The coffee houses were places where people went. Prior to coffee houses, I mean, coffee was a relatively like new invention into mainstream society at the time. prior to that, everyone was drinking alcohol, and there wasn't much like knowledgeable conversation going on. But when you went to coffee houses, this is where people would go to talk about politics, to learn from their leaders, and to really engage in productive discourse about the future of a country. And that's what I want coffee house to be at the end of the day, is a place to learn about your candidates, to engage in discourse, and really to become better educated about the future of your country. So basically, the first version of our app will be coming out most likely at the end of the summer. And so how it will work is the first time you use the app, you'll put in your address, and then that will populate your screen with candidates organized by office. So if you can envision like a U.S. Senate title, and then under that you'll have like profile pictures of candidates, and you can click on a candidate, you can research them, and so after you get done researching your candidates, you can pick your favorite candidate, and you just click a star on their profile, and that'll add them to your voting list. And so after you pick your favorite candidate for each office, you have a completely filled out voting list that you can just bring to your polling place, and you can vote based off that right on your phone. So that's the vision
It's a
we
good
have,
idea.
and we have some
Dude, that's
really great
awesome.
people working on it.
And so, one like tech question about that. So, is there like an API out there that will help you get like the local candidates' viewpoints on different issues? Like, how do you plan on getting that information, or is that proprietary?
Yeah, no, that's great. Great question. So there is like Google has a bunch of APIs, and there's a bunch of APIs out there as far as gathering information. What we really want to be though is not exactly extracting data from the internet, but really centralizing information on candidates. So what we'll have is placeholders. Like we'll have it all populated with. We'll get from APIs and from other sources, we'll get who the candidates are that are running for each office, and you'll just have a profile picture. So before the candidate claims that, because initially we won't have any candidates on the platform. Before that, we'll just have um, their profile picture, and um, then we have a thing called trusted sources. So we'll have political advocacy groups that will reach out to, conservatives for guns, and moms for babies, and all these political advocacy groups out there. And we're going to contact them and say, we're going to contact them and say, we want you on our platform, and we want you guys to uh, we want your guys' message to be on our platform, and you'll be able to see these trusted sources on our platform, and they'll be able to say like, hey, I endorse this candidate. And then so when you look at a candidate initially, even before the candidate signs up for a profile, you'll be able to see that all these trusted advocacy groups, like the NRA and other uh, organizations like that, are endorsing candidates. And that'll be before we even roll out the app. So right when we roll out the app, you'll be able to see all of these endorsements. And then once the app starts gaining traction, candidates will be able to sign up for their profile, and they'll be able to create a profile of information about themselves, their Twitter, their YouTube, and things like that. And they'll be able to build out their profile, and you'll be able to just click the candidate and research them there. So the big point is that you won't really be switching from platform to platform, looking up different websites, looking up the candidate specific website. It's all going to be in one place on Coffee House.
It's such a good idea. And I think
It
the
is.
reason why I asked like how you're going to get that information is because I think the more informed people are about like candidates, the more likely they are to vote for a possible third party, which I think we need four parties. And I think that this is coming. I think I might have mentioned it on the last show, Alec, but I think RFK is going to like do a subgroup of the Democratic Party. And then I'm sorry, Democrat Party, not Democratic. And then I think DeSantis is going to get the Republican nomination, and Trump is going to do his own MAGA party. I think that would be a lot better with those four people running for president. It would be more exciting.
Yeah, it would just be, I don't know. It would just be, in my opinion, it would be too, I guess, I don't know, because it's really tricky because you have obvious I don't know how that would work. Yeah, I think it would be
Yeah, and I
really
think it's
interesting.
yeah,
My
and
brain's all over
it'd
the
be
place thinking
interesting.
about it.
It would definitely have to be, a movement from the people who are fed up with the two parties, because right now, like, the two parties have all the money, and they
Yeah,
don't
that's
want to
it.
give up control. They're gonna
Hmm.
fight against that, and so I definitely see it difficult. But the fact that there's so much fracture in the Democrat Party between progressives and more establishment Democrats, and then in the Republican Party, you obviously have your Mitt Romneys, and then you have your Donald Trump, and there couldn't be
Great
a
guy.
yeah, yeah, and there couldn't be a bigger difference between those two, and so I definitely see a possibility of a four-party a system in America coming soon.
One thing I think that would be needed in order for these steps to be taken is Americans don't struggle enough right now. So they don't feel the need to research the people that are making these policy decisions. Like we got it pretty damn good compared to people in like Argentina. Um,
Hmm.
wait, is that where the high inflation is? Venezuela,
Yeah,
Venezuela.
right.
To
Yeah, it's
people
Hmm.
either
that have like
Argentina or
three,
Venezuela.
whatever, both probably aren't the greatest, but people need to struggle in order to care and take pride in their vote, because right now they the average person votes for the R or the D, and that's it. So I love what you're going to do with coffee house, just to give
Hmm.
somebody an easier way of seeing their local candidates and what they stand for.
Yeah, and kind of like the idea to it is you're going to see all on one screen Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Forward Party, Green Party, maybe a new party that Trump creates, or maybe a new party that RFK creates, and the People's Party. You're going to see them all together. And something interesting is, right now you don't see that. Like, in the channels that connect candidates and voters, it's radio, social media, and all you see is Republican and Democrat, negative ads. I'm sure you guys get these texts, these emails, and it's all Republican and Democrat because they have all the money. And what we want to do is really create a level playing field and say, hey, you guys can't have this power anymore. It's frankly against American values and what we were founded on. And the people are going to choose who they want to vote for. You two parties, you guys aren't going to choose anymore.
Right, because we don't feel like they represent us at all. What do you think,
Hmm.
Alec?
Yeah, no. I totally agree with what both you and Josh are laying down for sure. Um, I was sorry, I was a little distracted. Devin was texting me. He's having really bad network issues with his power outage at his house, so sorry about that. I've just been trying
Thanks,
to.
Obama.
But yeah, no, I really do think that a third party is needed. There's just so much division nowadays, and honestly, there's no one to thank more than the mainstream media. They are the ones that
Mm-hmm.
caused this mess. They are the ones that completely divided America. Um, it's completely their fault. And it all started in 2015. Once Trump started running, they just started going after him. And it's been going on for almost 8 years now. They still go after him. And that's what's dividing our country, man. It's the media. And on top of the media, you have, unfortunately, now we run into what you guys just said: YouTube or TikTok influencers are now coming in and getting political. I've never in my life, at least I could say, I can remember me being before a senior in high school. I don't think I was ever political in my life. And now there's middle schoolers and elementary schoolers and I mean, yeah, high schoolers should start getting into politics, but I mean, they're really into politics now. And it's all thanks to the media. It's shoved down everyone's throat. You can't open a book without seeing either Democrat or Republican. It's annoying. It's honestly annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
I
start
don't.
caring about. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
Oh, the old Canadian standoff. After you, no,
I'm
after you.
Midwestern. I'm Midwestern, so yeah, we're basically Canadian.
Yeah, I'm from Ohio, so I get it. Devin, you're back. Do you have anything you want to add since you're
Nope,
back
just
on
technical
here?
difficulties. I apologize to our listeners and viewers. We're having a little bit of an issue with.
And he's broke. I didn't start caring about politics until I was like 25, which was like 10 years ago. I'm 36. I'm the old guy in the group. I got gray in my beard. But yeah, it is. I couldn't imagine growing up today with just scrolling through TikTok and seeing some of these paid influencers by the DNC coalition is what I'll call them. We won't name drop here. We aren't having issues. Unfortunately, Devin is though. But yeah, I couldn't imagine the trying to navigate through the influence campaigns that go on nowadays. But once that mainstream media is dead and they realize that they're going to lose like $18 billion, like Target, and $28 billion like Bud Light, when they push these radical ideologies on the average person, I think it will start leveling off back to, more level grounded opinions. It won't be as bad. I don't know when that's going to happen though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the mainstream media is fastly losing credibility, and once more and more people see that the government has colluded with the mainstream media to protect themselves, especially like with what was it, the New York Times or New York something, colluding with the Hunter Biden laptop right before the election, and with the Twitter files coming out of Matt Taibbi exposing the CIA working with Twitter. And to add on to that, it's not only the mainstream media. The DOJ will not. There's a Ukrainian businessman who has recordings of Joe Biden uh, engaging in corruption with him and getting millions of dollars from Ukrainian business. And the DOJ won't investigate it, yet they'll investigate Trump over a Russian collusion that proved to have no basis. And it seems a little bit one-sided, where you have Trump who's speaking the truth that there is a lot of corruption in government, and because of that the government is attacking him. Yet you have Biden who just says talking point after talking point to support some of this corruption, and in return he is not investigated by the DOJ, and there's just so much corruption that it is unfathomable.
Yeah, and I'd like to touch base up on more what you were just saying, Josh, because I think what you said was really good. And also, so something I think you guys could agree with me on is, so the past like 4 or 5 years, and this is just my personal opinion, but stuff that tends to get censored nowadays, I tend to think that that's more maybe what the truth could be if something's censored. I would just like to
Right.
bring up some examples, like,
Or if they
I mean,
call it a
during
conspiracy theory, it's probably,
right.
it could possibly be true.
Like during the pandemic, though, for example, Dr. Robert Malone, he was taken off Twitter, taken off YouTube. He's just one example of a doctor. Okay, we could even go non-politics here. We could talk about Andrew Tate. I mean, he was just talking about men just being stoic and just being working hard, and that was just labeled as misogyny, and he was taken off platforms. And then Donald Trump was taken off platform. I mean, Alex Jones, he's Alex Jones, we could all say. But I mean, and the thing is, although he is Alex Jones, he should still have the freedom of speech. And
Right.
I think Trump said this perfectly. If you don't have freedom of speech whatsoever, you might as well throw it all out the door.
Yeah, absolutely good point. They're trying to they're using their powers to mold everybody into being weak, cuz what's that saying, like weak time or easy
Oh,
times bring strong, it, Alec,
yeah,
or
it,
Josh might.
It's weak times create strong men. Or
or no,
yes,
I
Hard
think it
times.
starts off with strong men
Something
create,
hard men.
or strong men create comfortable times create weak men create hard times.
Yes, that's it.
And then the cycle continues, and we're probably in a cycle where it's, weak men creating hard times, and we really need to put a focus on, we put all this focus on, LGBTQ rights, which, people have their views on, but um and we put all this focus on women's rights, but I think we leave out men who are struggling, and there's never been a higher suicide rate amongst men, and the mainstream media won't cover it. And right now there's a man contemplating suicide, and they simply don't care.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't know that was
that's
true.
yeah, no, right? No, I actually was just watching something earlier, Josh. That's crazy you just said that because I literally was just reading about this like an hour before we started recording. Yeah, so Denny, right now, I think it started since COVID or since pandemic. I can't say the C word. Um, that the suicide rate has literally went up like 3 to 4 times higher for men
Damn.
since the pandemic, and yet that's not talked about whatsoever. And yet, like Josh was saying, we're so focused on LGBTQ, in which I would like to know what rights do they not have that I do have? Seriously. I mean, we both can vote. We both can buy a car as long as you're a citizen, I'm sure. But I mean, the people that, and I have nothing against the community whatsoever besides them forcing it upon kids. That is one thing I cold heartedly disagree on. But if you're 18 plus, I don't care. It's none of my business. Go along with whatever makes you happy in life. But the thing is, like Josh, as you're saying, they're advocating for equal rights. I don't know what they're complaining about. Seriously.
Look, I try to engage with them on the Twitters, and I'll ask that question. I have a screenshot here, and oh yeah, here. Come back to me.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's confusing times for sure, and I think that if I were, I don't know, let's say 8 to 12 years old, I would be very confused seeing all this stuff on social media. Like, how could a young kid, boy or female, not be confused by what they see on social media? And
It's
then they go to
crazy.
school and their teachers are telling them the same thing, but then whenever they come home to their parents say, "Oh no, honey, that's not the case." But the kids get, like, nowadays we're starting to see where kids are talking back to their parents, which isn't right or normal. And like I've seen it. All right, so the reason I've seen this because I'm a hockey coach, or I was a hockey coach, so I seen this for third view. And so I would always seen this happen at the rink one night. Um, I don't know what the conversation was over, but I heard the daughter say to her mother, "My teacher said that you would disagree with me." Like, what? Why are teachers saying not to, like, that? That is so wrong.
That's
That is
weird.
so wrong.
Yeah, I found it. What human right that they do not have? Because I asked this person on the Twitter. I said, "What human rights are being threatened? Just leave kids alone." That's what I put underneath my question. So it was a little bit passive aggressive. And she said, I'm assuming her gender. She said the right to not be a white cis Christian straight male, the right to exist as someone who doesn't fall under that. It's your party who abuses children and supports pedophiles. Stay away from kids. So
What?
I don't know. I replied, no one is forcing you to be a white cisgendered Christian male. Y'all are the ones giving children hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and chopping off body parts and calling it gender affirming care. So I don't know, man. Like I don't know what they're missing. But to go back to your point, which you
I
just
mean,
go
I
ahead.
mean, from what you just read, though, it just sounds like whoever that person is just really hates their life, unfortunately, and that's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's a sad. That was sad hearing coming from this random person. It honestly was.
Yeah, those
You would think
Twitter fights will sometimes degrade, for sure.
make you think less of people sometimes too.
Yes. And before we jump over to our next topic, I'd like our viewers and listeners. I've been advocating this. I think the past 2 episodes. Please get on Twitter Spaces. This is how I met Denny and Josh. There's a lot of great people out there on Twitter Spaces. It's a great way to get other people's views, to talk, just to collaborate. It's a amazing platform. So again, I encourage everyone to use Twitter Spaces. And so, with that being said, fellas, I guess we could jump over to the news of today. Trump being arrested. Trump,
He
yeah,
got
whole
arrested?
bunch of craziness. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got arrested and then he was released.
He was
I missed
arrested?
everything.
I didn't know he was arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I won't. All right, I am going off Twitter, but this was around like 3 o'clock earlier. Supposedly, he went into the courtroom, did his fingerprints, was formally arrested, and then the judge dismissed him, saying, "Okay, this isn't like you don't need to go to jail to await your trial." So that's under the impression I'm under. But
Fact
let's
check
just talk
true.
about the let's just talk about the whole situation though from the start. Josh, I'll start with you.
Yeah. I mean, I I do have to do more research on it, but I'll go back to my point where it seems like Trump is getting some unfair treatment by the DOJ, and it seems like whatever he does, what no matter what, it seems as though he is getting what the DOJ is weaponized against him. I mean, has there been evidence that so does he have classified documents?
So he has documents. Now, what the documents entail, there's no one really knows what the documents tell, right? No one knows what's in those documents, so that's what's, I guess, going to go to court. And so yeah, I guess time will tell with everything that's going on. But the thing I think people are losing, or that are really upset about, again, we don't know what's in these documents, but they're saying that he took um, nuclear details and foreign affair nuclear arm deals. This details about
Ultra
the nuclear
secret,
arms,
yeah, ultra secret nuclear documents is what he
yes,
took. So
and
it's
foreign
a
policy. The foreign policy one's the real sketchy one that people are really really pissed off about, because that's like big time.
yeah, and the thing is, like, nobody knows what these documents are because they're classified. I heard like a rumor, or I was listening to a couple spaces today, just trying to get a grasp on the whole thing. Because so just to kind of lay a little bit of framework, which I'm assuming people are listening to this, they kind of know the situation. It's like a 37 count indictment, recently unsealed about classified documents throughout Mar-a-Lago. You guys remember when the FBI raided the former president, and the foreign thing that they were talking about, Alec, is apparently some planned attack on Iran back in 2019. And that's what, but they didn't end up doing it because General Milley went against it or Trump didn't like it or something. But you have to think about what they could consider classified. So if he had any personal letter between another foreign leader, that's considered classified. And there was like
Well,
180 boxes or something.
I'm gonna try to keep my point timid without me getting too angry, because this actually does really piss me off. Just because this has been 8 years now of Trump getting attacked over. I mean, I'll just start from the beginning. First, it was Russia. Then came out the Mueller report. Then the Steele dossier. Then we get John Durham's fabulous report, which proved, what do we prove, that Hillary Clinton spied on his campaign in 2016? Spied. And had no evidence of Russia being involved whatsoever. But no, that was not election interference whatsoever. So they're not going to prosecute her whatsoever. That, I mean, the Democrats always played a double-edged sword, in my opinion. They got caught doing something, but now they're trying to do what they got caught. They're trying to literally interfere in an election at this point, in my eyes.
Again,
I mean, this is what, his second indictment in a year.
yeah.
His second one. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anyone and it actually all started back in the primaries of 2015. I remember this very clear as day because I took government class my senior year in high school. And we watched the primaries. I remember what Trump said, and this is what pissed off Republicans and Democrats both. Trump came out and said that the federal government and lied about mass weapons of destruction in the Middle East, and he said the government lied about it. And you just saw all the other politicians' face up on the stage, just like go like into shock. That's what pissed off the establishment. That's what pissed off the deep state. It's what pissed off everyone in Washington. Like that was the one thing you were not supposed to say. And I mean, as we know, Trump being Trump, he said it out loud. And I think ever since that point in 2015, he's just going to be getting. He's got attacked to the point where he's at now. And honestly, as us three have been paying attention, we saw this coming. We knew that this was going to happen. This has just been a long time coming. I mean, they were just trying to build up something, and yeah, time will really tell
Josh,
about
were you
what's going to go on.
Josh, were you surprised by the indictment or any of the coverage today?
Yeah, no. And a lot of the mainstream media talking about it, and just framing it as if he's already guilty. Unsurprised.
So, I really like what Trump said. I think it was either today or yesterday. He said it on Truth. He said if he gets reelected, that he's going to have a special
Obliterate.
prosecutor. Well, yeah, he's going to
sorry.
obliterate the deep state, but then he's also going to hire a special prosecutor for Biden. And I think that's really important for people to hear, because whether you voted for Joe Biden or for Trump, honestly, if you're going to take someone to court over documents, it should be a fair ball game on both sides, because Joe Biden has documents. He had them in his garage, as we know, and he has them in an office in Pennsylvania and God knows where else. But if that's the case, if they want to go after Trump for having documents, they need to do the same to the other side. They cannot just make this a one ball game.
That sounds fair. Like and I think if that's how the law was applied, then we wouldn't care about them trying to go after Trump, even though he was the president. He's the executive of the executive branch. So he could literally declassify whatever he wanted. It's called like executive privilege, I believe. It's covered under the Presidential Records Act. So if he's talking to a foreign leader and he needs to uncover a super secret nuclear document in order to have a peace with them, he could do that on the fly. And a lot of this stuff was already declassified prior to being packed into boxes and shipped to Mar-a-Lago. Like, do we really think that Trump packed each individual secret document in those like 100 boxes, or did he have somebody else do it? Like, it could have been
Now,
a setup too.
here exactly, that's what I was about to say. Now, could there be someone in his party that Trump thought he could trust, and later on is now slip something in one of those boxes to make him seem like a bad person in the future? That's a good question. Other people in his party that are really not the best, I guess, advisors, we could call them.
Pence was great.
Yeah, it's interesting what Pence declared for his candidacy. What was that, like 2 weeks ago? I want to say, and I definitely see him positioning himself as like the anti-Trump, and it's interesting how they were so close yet. Yeah, or I don't know how close they were, but obviously he was his vice president, and after January 6th, it seemed like Mike Pence just um, separated himself from Trump. So I mean, I don't think Pence stands a chance in hell, but I wonder, if Pence is just entering the presidency candidacy just to try and steal some attention away from Trump and just try and defame Trump, um, so that DeSantis can win and maybe push some of that. So yeah, it's Mike Pence is an interesting character, and we'll see what impact he has in the Republican primary.
Do any of you guys know, has there been any other Republicans in the primary that have came out and spoken about this incident of Trump? Like,
So go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know.
So I know that 3 days ago, no, it was 3 or 4 days ago, Ron DeSantis did do a tweet about how the Democrats are politicizing the judicial branch. So he did speak out. In the tweet, he didn't necessarily say Trump, was being prosecuted, but everybody knows that it's about Trump, and Vivek Ramaswamy is very vocal about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's a good dude. That's who I would actually vote for in the primaries.
What
Um,
did he say?
he was like, I wish I could do his voice, but he said that everybody needs to come together who's running for president and decide to pardon Donald Trump if they win. Just so the politicization. Oh my gosh, it's a big word for a Midwestern. The politicization stops of the DOJ. Which, if Biden wanted to unite, be the great uniter, all he has to do is pardon Trump, and he might win in 2024 based off that alone.
Dude, if he did that, talk about a clown show.
That would be
Like seriously, this do all this just to pardon him? Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that
It
would
wouldn't
be
be
a
a bad
wild
move.
development.
Oh
and
my
they
god, dude. Oh, that would be
they've done
insane.
less.
But honestly, like it's it's interesting because I really was kind of hoping that Kennedy Jr. was going to be the Democrat nominee, but I don't. There's no way in hell they're going to pick him because he's calling him out.
And he's a
So I
Kennedy.
mean, who? Yeah, right. So I mean, who do you guys think is going to be the guy for the left for 2024? Do you guys really think it's going to be Sleepy Joe?
So who I hope it is on the left is obviously RFK. I think me and Denny were talking about him earlier, and RFK is at the end of the day what I look for in a candidate, and why I ran that third party campaign, is someone who's going to serve the people and serve the interests of the people. Because I think too often we talk about these candidates and how they're going to be our saviors, and how great they are, but really at the end of the day, it's what policies are they enacting for us, as citizens of America. And so, yeah, what was your question again? I'm blanking on it.
Who do you guys think the Democrats will choose as their primary for
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
presidential run?
Yeah, I mean, I think just Biden, because no other establishment Democrat, is it has enough as power as Joe Biden. Like, is Kamala Harris going to run? No one likes Kamala Harris. I mean, even on the Democratic Party, no one likes her. She's basically a walking bitch, uh and and like Buttigieg, I don't trust that guy. Most people don't, and it just he stands no chance in the general election. So I think they're just going to
Super
try and
transphobic. I'm
yeah,
just
but
kidding.
people are gonna come after me for being transphobic. But yeah, but there's just they might have to develop some life changing drug to keep Biden alive till 2024. But but I think
Well,
it'll be Biden, and all this super what's it called, these in the electoral college, the Republican Party don't have them, but these super, what's the
PAX.
word, no, like there's like delegates in the Democrat Party who have more power um than uh than other delegates in the Democrat Party. And
Mm.
these people really control the Democratic Party. And that's why you saw Bernie Sanders, who actually got a lot of the popular vote in a lot of states. He lost because these I'll look up the term.
It,
Super.
while you're looking that up, isn't that crazy that it doesn't even really matter sometimes at the end of the day, like what the people want in our
Yeah.
form of government?
Yeah, that's how much control these parties, especially the Democrat Party, have taken control of our elections. And yeah, it is crazy.
Well, I mean, us three, we know how crazy it is, but the crazy thing is people aren't awake to this. They're not realizing it. Like, some people think, like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go vote. My vote's secure. I don't think people realize, like, maybe it's not.
You're allowed to question elections now
Oh, it's
on
Yeah,
super
YouTube.
delegates.
Okay, I gotcha.
super. Oh, I've heard of that. I have heard of that.
So yeah,
But
like
yeah,
that was a good question, Alec. Like, who is another rock star within the Democrat Party? Um, Hakeem Jeffries is a racist, like straight up
yeah,
hates white people. So
yes.
they'll maybe people will vote for him, and like their white guilt will make them vote for him from the left. But AOC,
Maybe
is AOC up there?
Dylan. Maybe they need to put Dylan Mulvaney up there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, AOC is just too progressive to win the general. And
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's like,
if
like
she actually led the stage for the Democrats, I hope people close their ears and eyes when she talks.
Do you think that Trump is too like fringe now to win the general?
Hmm.
I have had my thoughts
Yeah.
on that. Because
Serious question.
yeah, because like Trump, in 2016, he really appealed to the middle and to undecided voters. And he was going up against Clinton, who was clearly corrupt, and you could see it in her eyes. And when you had a side by side of Trump, who you can clearly see as being his authentic self, whatever you think about him, he is being his authentic self, and he is telling the
Right.
truth of what he believes is the truth. And you look at Clinton, and she is just corrupt, and you look at her, she looks like a snake. And so yeah, yeah.
See, that's
Yeah,
why I
I
think
don't
Ron
know.
DeSantis. Oh, sorry, Alec. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to cut you off either, Denny. But yeah, dude, I think with this indictment, I think a lot of people, because because I have family, my whole family is very, I shouldn't say very, but they lean more towards the right. So I've been kind of asking them around today, like, hey, what's your opinion on this? And I had a couple say to me, like, no, we're done with them, moving on.
Yeah, a
Like,
lot
it's
of
too
people
much
have
drama,
that.
can't deal with it.
A lot of people have that Trump fatigue because the headlines. Like, I get notifications on my phone for Apple News, and they're
Hmm.
always like anti-Trump. Um, so yeah, I think the Trump fatigue factor is real. And Josh J brought. I don't know why I said Josh brought up the super delegates. So maybe DeSantis will get that vote, and that will give us
Or
Trump
the
as a
the
third
super
party. He's run.
delegates are only in the Democratic
Democrats.
Party. They're not in the
Oh,
Republican.
my bad. Well, still, well, that's
Look,
messed up. Why did they do that?
So, well, the Democratic Party is it's just they wanted more control and they like the Democratic Party, I believe, is more corrupt than the Republican Party, and they just wanted more control. And the party leadership really has a big influence on on who these super delegates vote for. And before I go, I wanted to bring up: do you guys know who Seth Rich is?
mm-mm.
No.
So Seth Rich was a data analyst for the Democratic Party, and he leaked emails proving that Clinton and the party leadership were sandbagging Bernie Sanders' campaign. Shortly after, was assassinated in D.C. Um, the DC police said it was a random robbery, but nothing was taken from the body, so it couldn't have been a robbery. Basically, a major cover up for the DNC assassinating someone for simply speaking the truth. So the DNC will stop at nothing to maintain their power and control over our country, and they will stop at nothing to push their agenda of control and money. But with that note, I have to go. That somber note.
I
Um,
I think you need to say you're not suicidal before you go. After
I'm not. I swear,
laying
I
that out
will. I
there.
will be here. But I just think it's an important fact, and you can look up Seth Rich, look up any article you want. Yeah, it's very sad story. He was a young guy.
Damn.
But I really wanted to thank Denny, Alec, thank Dennis for me. I'm so sorry he had those connection issues. And yeah, let's stay in touch.
Awesome, Josh. Appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah. I really liked his points though, Denny, on third party. It sounds like he has something good really brewing up, especially with that coffee house thing. Dude,
Yeah.
I don't think I asked his age, but if he's under 21 and he came up with that idea, holy shit. He's a genius.
Yeah, there might be something in the water. Maybe he didn't have as much fluoride as we did growing up and didn't numb the pituitary gland or whatever it's called. I did have more questions about
Yeah.
like what I wanted to ask him. What was it like running a third party candidate when you knew that there was no
Mm,
chance to win? Like, why would you continue to
sure.
run that campaign? Because of all the big
Right.
money in the two party system. But maybe next time
Oh,
we can
we'll get
dive
him.
into
Yeah,
that.
we'll for sure get him on again. I was messaging him and I told him I'd like him on for more than one, and he agreed to it. But
Cool.
right before he left, I think I just want to jump back to the Republican primary. I think it really depends how this court case pans out. If the judge looks at this and dismisses it, so says this is a waste of time, I think this is going to gain Trump more supporters than he can imagine. Because this is waking people up, Denny. I mean, people that weren't political now are now seeing how crazy this is. That's what the problem is. People that weren't political are now seeing how crazy the left has gone after him.
Right. And they, like you said, in 2016, like Trump was the average American and all that they've done. Now, one thing that might get Trump off the hook is like the chain of custody. When you're moving the evidence between different places, you need to put seals on them. And if one of those seals gets messed up or missed and not recorded or replaced, then the whole case is going to get thrown out. And one of the attorneys in the space I was in earlier said that the FBI is actually really fucking bad at at making sure that they reseal everything. So they got their headlines though. That's all they cared
Well,
about.
who is this prosecutor? Jack Smith? I mean, well, I actually did a little bit of research on Jack Smith. Dude, he's so against conservatives. Like he's actually known to like not like be against conservatives and when it comes to the court of law. And dude, like if that doesn't say anything itself, like this is politically motivated, what other evidence do you need? Like it's in clear writing. Like if I had a crayon and I told a fifth grader or a middle or a 5 year old, if I said what color is this, I had a red crayon, and they said red. It's basically the same concept of what's going on here.
It's so obvious. And but I am kind of glad we didn't totally focus the whole time on this episode on the Trump indictment because
Mm-hmm.
that's what everybody else was talking about. So this will give people a little bit of a break from it.
Sure.
Um, the third party shit is not shit. Well, kind of shit at the moment in the current political climate, but
Right.
it was nice to go down that road. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But then
Mm-hmm.
you factor that versus the Trump fatigue. Like people are like, I'm sick of it. My vote's not going to count. It's going to get stolen. They're just going to ballot
Right.
harvest. Like we got a lot of problems with our
Oh yeah.
elections.
In which this is another rabbit hole we could jump down. I don't want to get too deep, but this was something I was talking about on Twitter Spaces last night with for our viewers and listeners, Harry Sison. I'm sure we've all heard of him before.
Sisman.
20-year-old Sisman, 20-year-old Democrat that screams into his phone, very very vocal. I will give the kid credit. He's educated. I will give him that, but his
He's
viewpoints
prepared.
don't make he's prepared, but his viewpoints make zero sense and he never has any backups to his claims. So there you go, Harry. I just called you out like I was last night. But some topic that we were talking about last night was immigration. And it was Harry and his boyfriend Chris and another guy named Jack. Now these three were trying to say, and I asked the most simple question, Denny. I want you to listen very clear when I ask this.
Okay.
And I said, why are illegal immigrants treated more fairly than the United States homeless? Than the United States homeless? Does anyone, a United States citizen that's homeless? I said that very clear. I asked it 3 separate times. None of them gave me a definition.
They can't
Instead,
answer
what
it.
they said, no, there was no, they cannot answer. You're right. Instead, you know what Harry tried telling me? He goes, well,
What?
let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what the immigrants bring into our country. And I said, really, dude? Like, you're just dodging exactly what I just am trying to ask you. Don't tell, like, he was trying,
They
well, Harry was saying that a mass flood of immigration isn't the worst thing because they help our economy with
I
jobs.
know what the talking point is. I've heard him do it. Can I just guess what he
Right.
said? Like that
Yeah.
they'll pick the strawberries and the fields and stuff like that.
Yes, that's yeah, pretty much. I mean, he was labeling it pretty much as that, and I said to him, or I didn't say to him. I think Josh said to him. Josh did say this to him. This is what pissed me off. Josh had a link, and he put it in the Twitter space. And this was a governmental website, and it showed Harry works for a law firm, or yeah, he's in law school, so he's in a law firm. And so Josh posted a link for our viewers and listeners. Josh posted a link, and this link showed that the DNC, the Democratic Party, paid this law firm that Harry's at $200,000. Now that's not this small little bit amount of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And Josh just asked a simple question: "Hey, did you guys receive this money?" And Harry would not, he would dodge around the bush every second he could last night. He could not say yes or no. He couldn't simply couldn't say either one. Instead, what he was doing was he was putting on his clown makeup and he would say, "Well, let me explain what my law firm really is and what we do." And Josh was like, "No, no, no, I don't care what you guys do. Like, who started the company? I want to know, like, did you receive this payment of $200,000?" And whenever
Right.
Josh asked that question again, the host of the Twitter space kicked him for asking that question. And we were kind of talking about this before we started recording. The guy who um, was the host, and the two of the hosts that are usually in charge of these spaces that we are involved in, it's mainly for Gen Z. Um, I think they kind of favor Harry. I see it now. I see it clear as day. Whenever the kid talks, they view it everyone but him. But if you question Harry, oh no no no, you can't question pretty Harry boy. You get kicked off. It's messed up, man.
There are other
And
repercussions too. Um
yes. And for anyone that does follow me on Twitter, I am calling this snake out of the grass. And you know who you are, and I'm gonna keep coming after you, Mr. E.
it would be, yeah, he's so back to Harry.
Mm-hmm.
He is obviously paid, he's trained, he
Oh,
knows his
there's no doubt
talking
about
points,
it.
which is why I knew what he brought up because I've heard him say it 2 or 3 times. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason why the Democrats like the illegal immigrants is because they get dependent on the government, and people who are dependent on on the government are more likely to enjoy socialism. Even though a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
illegal immigrants are coming from are trying to escape that kind of tyranny. But
Right.
human nature, I mean, just like during the pandemic when a lot of us got like checks, nobody said no
Mm-hmm.
to the money. So why you can't fault the illegal immigrant for taking like a hotel in New York or free money or an Obama phone. Like, why wouldn't you take advantage of what a government's going to get you? The root of
Right.
the issue is that when you have an open border, there's bad people that come in, and maybe
Right.
they'll blow up buildings or they'll blow up, terrorists. And
And that
if you
right.
if you can't
And that
protect
was
your
something
people, you
I
don't have a country.
oh, absolutely. 100%. You have to have secure borders. And that was a point I brought up to this Jack guy last night. I'm just going to call him Jack Minnesota cuz that's where I know he's from. His first name is Jack and he kept saying he's from Minneapolis. So, Jack Minnesota. Anyways, that's something I was trying to mention to Jack Minnesota last night on this Twitter space. I said, "Jack, you realize that not every immigrant is coming over here with good intentions."
Right.
He goes, "Well, he says to me, "Well, you don't know that." I said, "Really? I don't know that?" I asked him. I said, "How old are you, Jack?" He goes, "I'm 20." I said, "Okay. So I was alive during 9/11. You weren't. Those people came to America. They were living in San Diego for like a year before the attack happened. Do you think they had good intentions living in America and San Diego? Well, that's just one incident. No. Look at the Boston Marathon. Um, hell, we have people within our own country that are citizens that don't have good intentions for America.
It's easier to go across the border than it is to get on a plane if you're an American
Right.
citizen. Like it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be like that. Like use the Patriot Act and all that shit to vet these people coming in. And
Right.
when you have this open border, it allows the cartels. It's a great business opportunity for them because they
Well,
could.
well, I'm glad you brought up the cartel because I actually, I will admit I listen to Alex Jones. I don't believe everything Alex Jones says, but he does
I love
have some
Alex
interesting
Jones.
points. He has some really interesting points. And right whenever Title 42 lifted, Alex Jones was saying that this is going to start a war between, or the federal government's wanting to start a war with the cartel, he was saying. And the reason being is so with the open border, the cartel is actually losing money. So the cartel would make money by having smugglers go across. They would make money doing that. Well, now they're losing money because they don't have that traffic no more, or they don't have the trafficking, like they don't have their business operating the way they want it to initially.
Mm-hmm.
So that's messing up their money flow. They're not going to like that. Okay. And then we look what happened. I guess it was like a week later after Title 42 expired. This devastating shooting in Allen, Texas, and then that one guy who ran over people, whole bunch of people, also down in Texas. Both of them happened to be, um, I don't know if they were U.S. citizens. I know they were both Mexican, but it was just astounding that yet still the mainstream media labeled them as white supremacists, which is I don't really want to go there. But Alex Jones came out again after these two incidents happened and said that these two people were basically um, they were blackmailed by the cartel, as in the cartel had these people's family members that said, "Hey, if you don't go to the mall and shoot these people, we're going to kill your family." Or if
Right.
you
Like,
don't
what do
go
you
over
do?
and run over these people, because a majority of the people that they killed, or all the people that I think that were involved, were also Latinos. I don't
Yeah.
think there was black Americans involved. It was Latinos or just Southern natives.
And I think I heard a stat because, like you said, their families are back in like Mexico, these other countries. Like most of the I'm not going to try to guess the number, but most of the money that they make in America, they send it back to their families because the dollar goes a lot farther there than it does here.
Oh, for sure. Well, I used to work on a sod farm for a little bit of time, and I worked with guys that were on visas. That's exactly what they did. Every Friday, they would go to uh, Walmart, send money back, and I asked him, I was like, dude, like you're making good money here in America. How much is that in Mexico? And he said that he would work. So these guys would work like 4 or 5 months here in America. They'd go back to Mexico, and they wouldn't have to work for a year.
Really?
Yes, like that's how
So
much
it's
the
like
money different.
it was like crab fishing, like
Yes, and
the
I was like, I
deadliest catch
said to him,
people.
I said, "Dang, Javier, that's pretty smart, man. Like, that's really smart." He goes, "I know. I'm building a mansion." I was like,
Oh, why don't we do
"Well,
that?
yeah." I was like, "Dude, it sounds like you got it figured out, man."
A lot of
But
those
yeah,
people are really
man.
good people, though. You can't blame them for
Oh, for sure.
taking advantage of our failed policies.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we hit a lot of good topics tonight, Denny.
I do
Um,
too. It was a fun chat. I'm sad that Devin had those technical issues. I think
yeah, stupid charter.
I think he's just a Biden supporter. And
He-
since he's
He's
not
not
here to
gonna like
defend
hearing that.
himself, yeah, I'm just gonna put it all on the table here. Devin actually voted for Biden in 2020. He knocked on my door. I live in Ohio. He's a different state. I don't know how he got here, but he knocked on my door and asked me to vote for Biden, tried to take my ballot. And I said, "Nah, brah, that's my ballot." He gave me $20. I gave him the ballot.
I
Big
love it.
Biden guy.
I love it. Well, with that being said, we're gonna wrap things up tonight. We encourage everyone to go on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, leave a review, please. You can follow us on Twitter. Um, so yes, please spread the word, and we encourage all the support as possible. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thanks.